Dara, I'd love to start with you. What does delivering those outcomes through digital transformation really mean to you and your organization?
Yeah, thank you. I think today, delivering through those transformations obviously means everything to a business. Underneath the Conair umbrella, we have many labels like Cuisinart and Waring, Babyliss Pro, and so on. And I always find it fascinating how companies have so much underneath them, but a lot of times we don't understand the landscape of that, and we don't have a chance to bring that forward out to the consumers. So for us, it's giving us an opportunity to actually not just show everyone who we are, but what we've been made up of and how our journey's been taking place and what we're doing in the future. And so it gives a different landscape for consumers to understand us, whether it's in our B2B partners or whether it's the things that we're doing in-house for our D2C and B2C. It allows us to really show and showcase our products. And it allows us to understand our consumers in a whole different way. By taking and putting that data out, we're in turn bringing data back in, what allows us to then understand our business, our consumers, and what they're looking for in the future, so that we're constantly staying approachable against them and with them, so that we're always on the same pathway together. It's a journey.
So Soma, Dara here talked about getting to know our customers better. I'd love to kind of hear what delivering outcomes, business outcomes through digital transformation means to you, but I want to take it one step further. How have you really seen customer expectations change, especially after the past 18 months?
I think it's a great question there, right? Customers are now used to some new change, right? There is a new normal, which is pretty much taking its own stage today. And I can start off with an example of how COVID specifically has really made this digital innovation adoption accelerated to a real big amount. I mean, about 18 months ago, we started talking about it. Some of our customers, right, in this specific example, is an automotive customer, wanted to be part of the solution of creating face shields. We were really in dearth of creating face shields. So collaboration, these are some of the words there I used as well, right? Collaborating with your vendors, with your customers. We went ahead and said, okay, how can we be part of the solution? So within a week, right, our automotive company can create a new model of face shields. And they contacted us and said, guys, how do we do the rubber strap in a different way? The elastic bands are not working. So at 4 a.m., we came into a digital innovation. Within a week, we could produce 1 million face shields. And that's kind of the innovation which was produced when we were put to a corner to say we need to find a solution. But that's here to stay to some level. The level of speed may be a little bit not that crazy, but I'm telling you that here we are expected from our customers, from our vendors, from our partners, that we need to be able to deliver things much faster, much innovatively, and also a huge value when it really matters to them, which is what it's saying. And that's what we, as a company, as individuals within the company, strive for on a day-to-day basis. See, how can we make a difference, not just to the communities we live, but to our customers and to our profit line?
Yeah, we want to make a difference. And Michael, I see you nodding your head, so of course I want to ask you why, but also moving at this speed and scale, we've done it. Is it sustainable? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, that's a challenge in itself. I think you have to gear the team, right? You have to gear the team at all levels. What's the strategic level? What's the operational level? If that team is not aligned and harmonized, then it can be a challenge, a huge challenge to align an organization both during a pandemic and after a pandemic. At Elior, we went into work in kitchens on demand. So kitchens on demand are a kitchen that can serve any market. Not very innovative, but not used in the industry. Very non-standard approach, but it harmonized production. It allowed us to meet higher customer need, and just like Soma discussed, meet emergency meal needs across the U.S. in markets wherever a COVID outbreak occurred. We were ready to send meals, send product, and built some strong relationships during that time. So I think it is alignment inside the organization so that you're ready to find the right partners and you're ready to take the next step with them by knowing your business process so well that that you can begin to tap into the 68% of that data that you talked about that goes unused. That's the challenge. And it's a challenge of leaders and leadership teams today.
Yeah, you need alignment within the organization. So Dara, I want to kind of ask you that question. What about innovation internally? How do we encourage that? Should we be changing KPIs or processes to really support this?
Yeah, I think so. It's a great question that everyone should be discussing. I try to lead a lot of initiatives around that and trying to bring through, by staying educated myself and keeping my teams educated, we then in turn can educate our business partners internally to advise them of some of the changes that are occurring out there, not just in the business, but also in the technology space. So they can understand that we are making valuable choices. They can tell us what they're looking for in the future, and we can tell them how that aligns with what the business should be, looking at in strategies. But it's an important part of how we're all growing. If the business understands how the technology and the innovation should grow with it, then you have a great true partner that you can align with and get some right strategies together and actually put in space that you need. We had a great example, a case example last year where we had a part of our industry that was very modernized and was looking for modernization in the consumers that were using their platforms. And so we changed the space out of a regular e-com environment where they're just kind of looking at us and talking to us in a one-way, factor. And we brought it into apps, into a lot of social media, and we drew the attention of all those spaces and really drove the way that we're seeing our business grow. Drove the way that our voice is going out for the business, as well as drove all of that data back in so that we can keep driving that forward. And once the business understood how much they were getting out of those terms and relative factors, they were really understanding how valuable it is to continue to partner with their technology leaderships.
Yeah, so Soma,
So it's been huge for us.
Yeah, fantastic example you just shared there. Soma, your thoughts on getting buy-in and encouraging internal teams to innovate?
I think innovation, it's not an accident, right? It has to be structured in some way. I think it kind of goes against the grain to some level, innovation and structure, but we believe that innovation has to be purposeful, right? And the culture, you mentioned that earlier, I think to the question to Aditya saying, what do you think about culture, right? Innovation goes together, I believe. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. That's what Peter Drucker said, right?
Yep.
Which is true. I think you need to have a culture of innovation within an organization for it to really grow and deliver. And one of the key concepts, I would say, I know we can talk for a long time on this, but one thing I wanted to talk about is a key change is required is the concept of failure and fail fast. We hear it often, but I don't think a lot of our cultures or our organizations are built to succeed all the time. And failure is really not acceptable. But if you look into that, failures are the stepping stones. And we as an internally culture to change into going from a organized or a family culture into an innovation-based organization, one of the first steps we need to take is to make sure that we encourage failure, but fail fast. If people don't try, they're not going to innovate. And if there is a stigma to do that piece, that's not going to grow. So that's an important piece I wanted to say is, how do we change the culture internally? How do we help to innovate? How do you align? But try to say, let people try. And make it actually obvious. One of the things we did was we said, let's have an award for the best guys who tried, right? And specifically took saying, these are the projects which failed, which is okay. If we don't do that, we won't get innovative results in the back end. And that's kind of a core piece. If you talk about innovation, internal innovation, it is very important to have that really displayed outside and encourage people to come. It's only more people come, it's going to really do. And we all do that. I mean, this is a famous example they gave about the challenge about the MBAs and kindergartners doing the marshmallow challenge, right? Every time kindergartners beat an MBA. The reason for that is you're given a bunch of spaghetti and tape and say, bring a larger structure which can hold a marshmallow. And the tallest structure is built by kindergartners than an MBAs. Why? Because we are taught to be structured to some level without looking at the innovation.
Wow.
We need to do that piece. And that's a huge win. Something as a culture, as an organization, we need to develop on.
Who would have thought those lessons in kindergarten really served us today? As complex IT projects really start progressing away from CXOs and towards divisional and functional leaders, Michael, what role should senior leaders play in ensuring the business vision is maintained? Your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So the same sponsorship that goes with culture, right? The culture is modeled by your sponsors and your leaders. If those sponsors introduce language like such as fail fast, pilot, proof of concept, incremental improvements, you can start to change that culture to one where experimentation is possible. We can always, I believe, and in my career, I've always been able to find the right IT partner to deliver on the project. If I had the right business partner first, help define those requirements, help me understand their business well enough that me or members of my teams could internalize that, put the business requirements out, and align with the goals. All of the project management methodologies need to be at your disposal to bring in what will success look like at the business level, at the IT level, in the results level. And if you do that, it's always been easier with great sponsorship, great leadership, aligned to culture, and a quest for, if it's speed, then speed. If it's breakthrough, then breakthrough. But aligning and removing the noise that is often very common in these areas is, we want to do it fast, and we want to have a big bang, or it's a marketing ploy. Remove that by getting real centric on the business, and I've never failed, really.
Interesting you just said that. So Dara, I want to pass this next question off to you. Tease us right up. Some might say that digital innovation is sometimes used as a marketing tool or a PR campaign more than anything else. But how can we really harness it to drive revenue generation and business outcomes? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, one thing I would say is nothing that you end up doing through all these journeys is easy, right?
Yeah.
It's whether you're partnering up with your internal partners, finding the right vendor externally, because there's 1,000 of them now that are offering so many great services that it's not an easy journey that you're all taking. But I would say that, it probably was first thought of as a marketing succession tool, and that it was really driven towards the marketing teams, where people were going out and thinking, okay, how are we going to help them drive the consumer journey, and what does that look like? But it really becomes a full corporation environment. And a lot of my, goals for the year are really, how do I return and give investments back into the company? What am I showing within my technology space that has actually uplifted and given back performance for the company and driven revenue? Because all of these technology bases are built to do that today at every level of the company. So a lot of them, of what we're looking at in success models, are how can we cross-functionally use the tools across all platforms and brands, right? And that's globally, where traditionally it was really set off for certain regions within the world, or within certain regions of a business. The other things that we're doing is, how can we take that and then return it to do an uplift within sales, right? How do you show them in a digital presence that things are interesting to them, but then it's not just one item, they could actually purchase 2 or 3, that would be collaboration in one. And so those types of technologies, I would say, did initially start with marketing and continue to drive through a marketing scheme, but it's really embedded into the whole company today. No one's selling traditionally anymore in the same way, right? There's still those handshakes that we've gone back to after COVID, which is wonderful. But what they're doing to get those handshakes driven further is all this technology that we're doing in between, right? It's the way we're communicating with them, whether it's these types of platforms and showing the products, whether it's the data that we presented to them in a whole different way than we did 2 years ago, right? Or whether it's the way we're presenting our products in these 2D, 3D dimensions so that they can understand the product without having to have us deliver each item to them. So all of that is the way that we're driving and returning investments for the company and setting our goals to help them drive the revenue and build those processes.
Yeah, fantastic. Michael, does that resonate with you?
Well, it does resonate, along with knowing yourself, right?
Yeah.
Knowing your internal enablers. We were talking earlier about, storage capacities and such. That's what I need my partners to help me define is, do I have a technological enablement that precedes my business breakthrough that I'm working on now? could I take an incremental step before that enablement? So it is really knowing that and then really surfacing those opportunities so that you can align on putting the right real plan together for whatever the scope is. And it is a real challenge, but you need to bring those parties together. Sometimes the question is, what's more important? Well, it's all about the business. So if the business knows itself, if the business can articulate its needs, then this group is on the video today. This group is ready to meet those needs, but it is articulating that, getting it out on paper, getting those requirements, and moving forward in whatever way works. Internal, in, out in. You really got to align with your business partner and push them sometimes to take the next logical step in their progression.